Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Jamie. I am back with another insightful video, and unfortunately my hair is not playing game today, so we're just gonna let that happen. But today I wanted to talk about, obviously I've spoken about depression and things like that. This time I wanted to look at anxiety. Now, for many of you, anxiety may possibly just be a word that you hear thrown around left, right and centre, and you're not actually 100% sure what it means. But for others of you who actually suffer with it quite drastically, you definitely know how it feels. It's so horrible. I mean, yeah. I'm going to go through some things that I experience, what helps me, things that you can do, and again, I just kind of hope this gives you a little bit of hope. Like, you know, again, we're not crazy, we're just awesome people. I think I'm going to have to take my hat off, So firstly, anxiety, what does it feel like? Right now, I can, sometimes I feel my heart starts beating really fast, and I can start hyperventilating, and that honestly is sometimes really horrible. I get tense, I hyperventilate, and I panic. And people always talk about your trigger, which is meant to be something that makes you really anxious. For example, sometimes for me it sounds really silly. It can be if people either don't text me back, or for example, say I'm meeting a friend at 5 o'clock and they don't reply and it's getting near 5 o'clock, I will get really anxious and I will start getting a bit freaked out, like, what's happening. I like to be a bit OCD and organised with things sometimes, and if it's not up to that standard, my anxiety will kick in sometimes and I will freak out. It's not great, sometimes more than others, but then that's when I get the overthinking and all the other things that sometimes come with it. For example, I'll go, oh, they haven't texted me back, they don't like me, they hate me, this, and then I'm digging myself down, thinking all these things that aren't true, and that isn't necessarily the case. They could just be like, oh crap, I'm 10 minutes late, But I need to know these things just to reassure myself. I don't know if you guys are like that sometimes. For me, reassurance is key. I like people to tell me things are okay, just so I can go, hey, look, they know it's okay, so it's okay. But yeah, stiffness and the hyperventilating, sometimes for me, I get very anxious, and I don't want to say self-harm, but I mean, for example, sometimes I'll like really scratch and grab my neck, or I will sort of stretch my fingers. I don't have it with me, but I have like a little fiddle cube. Now these things work a god, because I will play with that in my hand, and that literally sort of just helps me deal with the situation. So I recommend, and I've read somewhere that you actually release a lot of energy through your fingers, so I recommend if you have anything you can play with, like even just like little toys, or for me sometimes when I'm in class it will be, just playing with something, just so I can listen and pay that much more attention. Some other things I find help, that you guys may or may not do this, but sometimes I find for me it will be neglect of personal needs. For example, I'll find it's, I don't know, say I woke up at 9 AM and it's now like 4 PM and I'm like, oh damn, I haven't eaten today. Tiny things like that, like, oh, I haven't drank all day. Really important things that I end up neglecting. These things that I find myself keeping on top of, just make sure I've got energy, make sure I've got, I'm hydrated. For me, I believe, to have a hydrated mind, seeing as your brain is like 90% water or something like that, just hydrating that's really important. You want to make sure you're having the right nutrients and everything. You don't want to be deficient in anything. All these vitamins work well for you. I looked into healthy eating and sort of clean eating for a while, and it's really interesting to find all these foods that have different health benefits. For example, supposedly apples are supposed to help lower like rates of depression. Some foods help manage anxiety. Things like chamomile tea are really good for sort of chilling you out, calming you down. I think chamomile tea is somewhere been referenced to like nature's Xanax, so it's nature's chill pill. I take some of those, and sometimes they work nicely. I usually take them before bed, but fruit, veggies. I know a lot of people don't like veg, but it's all about, just for me, any tiny thing that makes me feel better is all good. So there's that. And I know this sounds dumb, because for me it's just like common sense, but it's not. Getting enough sleep. Now for me, I find I will be always up till like, I don't know, 10, 11 o'clock at night, like playing video games, doing whatever, like just not sleeping. And then I'll find over time that will catch up with me, obviously, and then that is when I find myself most vulnerable, when I'm tired and I don't have enough energy to deal with it. But with anxiety as a whole, I find if you ever can, try and let it do its job, but don't let it do more than it needs to. Being anxious is normal in a way. It's your way of being. It's your warning. It's your body warning you about something. Like, I don't know, if you feel anxious around someone or about someone, you're probably thinking, hey, I'm protecting myself. You know, I'm doing this because I need to. I don't want to hurt myself. Well, that's 100%, don't get me wrong, but don't then start making assumptions, which is the most hardest part. Don't start going, oh, I feel anxious, no, this can't be right for me, this isn't right. There's a level between anxiety and there's a level between, like a level over that. Make sure you don't go over that, because that's when you start to create more problems. It's quite frustrating nowadays that I've seen so many people that, especially when I was like back at school, I would see a lot of people who would be like, oh, I suffer with anxiety, like, and you can tell they don't. I'm not judging someone, but they never really understood the concept of what anxiety meant. Like, you would ask them, oh, why are you anxious? And you're just there like, you know, real anxiety feels like this. Or they're just like, oh, I don't know, I just feel uncomfortable, in the sense of, you know, I mean, we all feel anxious. We've all definitely 100% been in a situation where we are anxious in our lives. For me, I'd say my anxiety comes around, so more general anxiety, and I find it to be more around people. Some people can, you know, be like, oh, I'm anxious that, I don't know, my work doesn't hit up to standards, or I'm anxious that I'm gonna be late. I really hate being late. Me, my anxiety comes around relationships, family, friends, because I'm always worried, due to like past experiences as well, which I feel does trigger my anxiety a lot. These things you need to try your hardest to get over, to build your bridge to get over this problem. For me, I'm never going to look at it. I mean, I don't like to say I'm an optimist. I don't like to say I'm a pessimist. I kind of like to say I'm a realist, but I don't like to go anywhere on the scale, just because I don't like, you know, it's like I said in a previous video about being negative and positive. I want to be able to think, of course, you know, oh, one day I'm going to wake up and my life is going to be great, I won't feel this anymore. That's what we all want to feel, don't get me wrong, but I am trying to deal with it in a positive way that I can look at, right, if I have to live like this for the rest of my life, how am I going to do it? And it's making a strategy plan. And, you know, never, it's like I said again in another video, never make yourself be uncomfortable, because once you're uncomfortable and your anxiety is triggering, look at why it's triggering. For example, I had it a while back. I used to get it really badly, again, around people, and it was, I like to think, as a person, I'm very honest. You can probably read me like a book if you knew me in person, but it was, you know, people do it, you know, people lie, that's the world. I don't like being lied to. I'd rather someone, like, be honest and tell me something hurtful than lie to me. And I found out things I didn't need to know by someone lying, and ever since then I've found that hard to trust people. So my anxiety on this level is that I always get anxious if someone tells me something, whether no matter how nice it is. You know, it could be like, oh, I think you're really good looking, or your work is so great. Sometimes I'm like, oh, are you being sarcastic? You know, I can't just be like, oh, thank you. To me, there's always that second layer of analyzation. And sometimes with anxiety, like I've said, two things you do need to be careful of is, so being over analytical, for one. So just try your best to not overlook things. I used to suffer with this, I try not to anymore, but it's don't go, if your friend cancels on you for something, don't then be like, oh, maybe they don't like me. Have I done something? And then start ticking the clockworks back to like 10 months ago to think of something why they don't want to hang out with you. It's like, that's not the case, you know. Look at it from maybe your point of view, and if you were them, if you cancelled on them, you might be busy, you might be doing something, there might be something important, family issue, something that you need to sort out. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. Try not to jump towards the negatives. Keep your options open, and don't, as I say, don't jump to things. That's the hardest thing. I would always jump to conclusions, and that got me in so much crap you would not believe. So yeah, just the things. So I'll talk about how I handle things in a whole now. Meditation and yoga is probably number one. Always try and get a bit of time to yourself, chill out, just let everything go as hard as it can be, and just take some deep breaths, just in, out sort of breaths, calm down, and relax, because you don't, deep down, you're making yourself anxious, about something you don't necessarily need to be about. If you want to analyse the situation, I wouldn't recommend it, but if you want to and you feel you have to, think about things of like, okay, right, they've cancelled on me. Oh, I remember she said that, or they said that so-and-so had to do something with their parents at this time. Maybe that's why she had to cancel, because another plan that was important had to come up. Or, oh, maybe they can't get here. Or, you know, don't think of the negatives. Don't jump to conclusions. So that's meditation and yoga. I find music as well is very, maybe not for you guys. I've heard, you know, some people music isn't all the best, but for me, music is my world. Sometimes I can literally switch on some music and really get lost, and by that I mean I feel as if I'm okay again. I feel lost in music, that I connect with it, and they can sort of, it comforts you, it makes you sort of aware, and then, you know, sometimes give me a few songs later and I'm doing what I'm doing, I'll forget that I was anxious, and I'm like, oh yeah. So it's until, you know, you think about what made you anxious previously that we usually tick you off again. And thirdly, I would say it's probably try and keep yourself busy. For me, it's not hard, but it's not easy. I say this because it's easy for me to keep busy, because I like to play a lot of video games, I like to try and do art, I try and make music. There's a lot of stuff I just like exploring and try to do. But unfortunately for me, being self-critical, I will, you know, I'll draw something and then be like, oh, I'm really shit at doing art, why am I doing this? And then I'll give up, and then I'll just sort of sit there and kind of mope, and then, you know, 10 minutes later I'll be like, oh yeah, oh cool, really loads of energy, and try something else again. If you're something good at drawing, something I tried to do was draw your emotions. Now this sounds really dumb, but I've heard there's a lot of theory with art. For example, if you're drawing a lot of curved lines, it means you're very bubbly and happy. A lot of jagged squarey lines can, you know, mean anger and this and this. So again, if you're like me, I kind of like these things. I like just to think that things are more than they are. I don't know why, it's just what I do. But yeah, if you can draw, paint, music, singing, sports. I'm not great at sports. I'd love to be good at sports. There's so many things I'd love to do, but I just, again, don't have that sort of level of security yet just to go out and do it. If you can do any of those things and you feel confident about it, push the boundary there and gain that confidence. Because for me, I had a year last year where I would say I'm not going to go as far as say I was the happiest in my life, but I want to say that doing the things I did, I forgot how I felt in the back of my mind. I was so confident, you know, I was getting on with college, doing really well at work, I was developing this person, and everyone was always complimenting me on my fashion and this and that, but in the end I was like, I'm not trying to be fashionable, I'm just trying to be me, you know, and my fashion isn't like going down, you know, designer shops and buying all these expensive things. Mine would be like, I don't know, a really wacky purple jumper with some jeans and some crazy shoes, and people were like, I really like your outfit or something, and I'm just like, thanks, because it took me a while to pick things up like that and be like, you know what, that's weird, I like it, I don't care. It's doing it for you. So again, as I spoke about in a previous video, it's all about you need to focus on yourself sometimes. It may not necessarily be the easiest thing, but taking slow steps and not over-analyzing is really, really important. So again, I'm probably going to start to wrap this up. So yeah, I hope if you guys actually have any questions on something, I mean, how you feel you get affected by anxiety. I sometimes get affected more mentally than I do physically. Other times I get physically than mentally. By that I mean sometimes, like I said earlier, I'll get increased heart rate and I'll start hyperventilating. Other times I'll just be like, I can't think about something that upsets me. I can't not think about something that upsets me, rather. So it's that rather than this. But yeah, always try and stay in the present moment, and again, I find that very difficult, but if you can always value the time you are in the present moment. If you're going out with friends and enjoying a meal, enjoy the meal, and then don't think about it unless you can sit there and go, I had such a nice meal, you know, because, or you're then going to go tick, tick, and then you're going to go, oh wait, did I have a nice meal, or the meal wasn't that great, and then you're going to degrade it to the point where what was once a nice thought wasn't really that nice. So yeah, you've got to do what you've got to do. I personally did a lot of research, which is the stupidest thing someone could do when you feel like this, but I try and take it with a pinch of salt. I like to Google, I like to understand these things, I like to see how people feel. You know, how badly someone feels, and I'm like, okay, they feel a lot worse than I do, therefore I should count myself lucky, or what someone does to feel better. But I can reassure you, yoga and meditation is something that's very high up there with what people try and do on their daily basis. So if you guys can fit something in there, you know, about yoga or meditation, after a while you will feel so much better about yourself. I felt so much more confident, so much more relaxed, so much happier after doing these things. And yeah, so I hope that kind of helped in a way. It was only a few little pointers on it as itself. It does get a lot deeper, but I don't want to personally abuse the subject. I only know what I know, and I can only explain what I know. I've had it worse, I've had it better, but you know, I don't want to make like a 2-hour long video rambling about something negative. I just wanted to have something here that someone can find, pick up on, and hopefully use it. So just to recap before I go, it's try not to overthink things, you know, try and do some yoga and meditation. Stay in the moment if you can. It's really important, because once you're in the moment, you're not thinking about anything else. And yeah, try and be confident. Don't ever look at things and be like, oh, that's horrible. Try and be like, okay, that's good for me. You know, if I showed you some of my drawings, you'd be like, wow, that looks like a kid's done it. But for me, after a while, I'm like, I'm actually proud that I did that. I feel that looks good. You need to compliment yourself and not stop being so harsh on yourself. And one extra I'd probably say is, this may seem probably quite a bad thing to say, but I know I do it a lot sometimes, and it's try not to fish for compliments. And by that I don't mean, oh my god, look at my outfit, don't I look great? I mean, how I would do it sometimes, and it's not, I'm not saying it because I want attention. It would mean like, oh, do you like my outfit, or do you think I can do this, or do you think I'm good at this? Or someone would be like, oh, you're good at that, and I'd kind of drag it out, because I want someone to tell me I'm good at something, and I want that bit of confidence to be like, oh really, thank you, you know, because if someone else thinks that, then maybe more people think it, and I have that one bit of, you know, I have that one arm around me of support to think, okay, cool, they're on my side. But yeah, it's a crazy world we live in, and you know, we've all got to stick together in a way. It's pretty weird, but I hope these have helped you guys. My next video is probably going to be on something like spirituality, like I said, about positive, negative energy and what to stay away from what I believe. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you can. I hope to see you guys around. And please share if you feel someone needs to know about this bit of information. And I hope you see you in the next video.